Our next speaker is Dr. Ljubisa Bojic. He's a research fellow and coordinator at Digital Society Lab at Institute for Philosophy and Social Theory at University of Belgrade. And the title of his talk will be From Ethics to Law in the Metaverse, Recommender Systems as Common Good. So I invite you to stage. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ljubisa Bojic. I come from the Institute for Philosophy and Social Theory at the University of Belgrade. And today I will talk about AI ethics and present some of the challenges that we have come across during our research on media addiction. But first of all, some of the common ones. The main challenge about AI ethics goes around the use of technology to modify behavior. So there are various ways to do it, to use patterns, and then based on that, give back to some content to groups or individuals, etc., etc. But this can be done in various ways. So I'll present some challenges. So the first one is the corporate sector. And we have seen that in terms of Cambridge Analytica, when the scandal was about taking some data without of consent from the people. And as you probably know, that happened in 2018. The solution that came afterwards was GDPR. And GDPR basically enabled people to click consent and then to give consent to the big tech, to the companies. So it hasn't solved anything in my view. So the solution for taking your data by the corporate sector, by the companies, is GDPR. The second challenge is the government, and we have two cases here. The first case of Edward Snowden, and which he was a whistleblower, and he came out telling the public that the U.S. government is taking the data from many people around the world and breaking privacy of many people. The second case is about China and facial recognition technology, which is actually driven by AI algorithms. It relates to different uses to punish people and to make them behave socially in a socially desired ways. So the government is also posing threat to citizens, to individuals and societies, not only the corporate sector. So the solution for that is about AI law, and we have the recent example of the blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights, something which is new and coming in the United States of America. And it basically makes it tries to get the AI use ethical, or to make AI for the benefit of the people and not for the benefit of the companies or the governments. This is something that will come in the future, and we'll see what will bring, because it's new, and then you can take a look at this blueprint for now. But these are some of the common challenges, and many people in the past that spoke about these challenges, they somehow don't mention one of the most important ones, and it relates to the tech companies and the big tech. So the challenge is the big tech here. in terms of AI ethics. And one of the movies that started this topic in the global public, started discussions about it, is the social dilemma. It's about the concern that algorithms, how algorithms affect us, and who has the control over algorithms. In this case, the big tech companies have the control. This creates echo chambers, it raises anger, and it makes toxic social media for the benefit of the big tech. So they can have more likes, have more engagement, have more sales, etc., etc. So that is the topic of the movie Social Dilemma, and you can take a look at it. The most recent whistleblower, Frances Hogan, from the US, that worked in the Facebook, she had some revelations relating the impact on youth of Facebook algorithms, the impact of 2018 algorithmic changes, and we don't know how the algorithm is set up, and what happened related to the vaccine misinformation. So she disclosed these documents, and that raised the discussion about really important question of algorithmic impact that is related to the big tech. Now we have the second challenge. It was initiated when Donald Trump was expelled from Twitter and other social media as well. This is, can you get kicked out from social media or some VR world in the future based on the decision of a tech company, despite the fact that your basic income and your life maybe depends from your online presence? So that is ethical issue to be discussed. It doesn't matter who the Donald Trump was, and was he a populist leader, etc., etc. But the idea that a tech company can expel you from online world, from the internet, from the platform, is very frightening. So the solution for that came out recently in Digital Services Act. That is the act which is now adopted by the European Union, and it is very important because it should address this issue, this challenge related to big tech companies and their algorithmic impacts. They can basically nudge people, societies, groups, individuals towards some direction, and we don't know about that. So that is one of the biggest challenges. Online platforms must note in their terms of service the main parameters used in their recommender systems and list options for users to alter those parameters. Transparency of recommender systems and user choice for access to information apply to both online platforms and very large online platforms, while the user's choice is not to have recommendations based on profiling. So these are the options by the Digital Services Act, which should be active in the recent future, but it's adopted by the European Union. So the solution 2, it relates to the virtual identity as basic human right, and we can see that United Nations adopted a resolution in which the intentional disruption of internet access, the right to internet access by governments, is condemned. But this is not only about governments, it is about big tech. The most important issue here, the biggest challenge, is if a big tech company expels you from the platform. And that is the issue around online identity. So this doesn't help like GDPR doesn't help in terms of the corporate impact. So what I decided to focus on, being the part of a work group related to AI ethics within the government of Serbia, because our main goal is to produce a document with AI ethical recommendations. It's just recommendations. I decided to focus on recommender systems and virtual identity as human right. Okay, let's have a quick look to the future. We see the metaverse, which is envisioned future, but it doesn't have to happen. Maybe it will happen. What this would mean, and I mentioned addiction at the beginning of my speech, is that we would have a very addictive environment, and many people will use it if it becomes mainstream, and maybe it becomes a must for people to attend meetings in the metaverse, in the virtual reality. Then it would pose a real danger, because the metaverse will be under control of tech companies, which is very important. So the rule-setting power in terms of ethics in AI is the main question. So what is envisioned now is that physical world will merge with virtual world, and some kind of surreality will happen, a surreality that people will live inside. On the other side, you see the addictive potential of old media and the addictive potential of new media. So we're coming to some coefficients that are really calculated, and they relate to addiction intensity from press, radio, television to smartphone. This has been increasing, and now we have the metaverse. We don't know what will happen in the metaverse, but we already know, based on some research done in terms of VR games, that they are much more addictive, and they create higher intensity of addiction than gaming without VR. So that's why this is one of the reasons why this is the issue. Not only smartphones, but the metaverse in the future may be very addictive, and we are going to be exposed by recommender systems to all the content around us in the metaverse. Who decides which content we are exposed in this highly addictive environment? That's why I decided to focus on recommender systems as the most important and the biggest challenge for AI ethics and our life of humans in the future, I would say. So this is my participation in the work group on artificial intelligence recommendations as part of the government of Serbia. So we have to make this kind of draft, there is recommendations, etc. So my idea was to include this because of the reasons I mentioned, to include this as, to propose the point 9, to add that into the list of high-risk systems. And recommender systems driven by artificial intelligence on platforms used by a large number of people, such as social networks, this is an example of these platforms, based on various data and objectives, such as to boost engagement, time spent online, and or sales of advertised goods. They make decisions about which content is presented to an individual or a group, which can affect the attention, desires, opinions, determinations, creativity, imagination, feelings, decisions, and activities of individual, or contribute to creation of social bubbles, polarization around important social issues, and in the final instance, they affect the democratic capacity at the level of society. So I just want to bring this to the floor, to the ground, this issue which is neglected. I think it's neglected. What is the basic proposition of stakeholders that will take part in the Emerged 2022 Forum on the Future of AI-Driven Humanity and International Conference, Digital Society Now, in Belgrade from 16 to 18 December, and you're invited to attend. Just apply on the emerge.fdt.bg/ACRS. This is like our university website address of the conference. We will sign the Belgrade Digital Freedom Pledge with two most important aspects, and that is we want to trigger discussions about recommender algorithms or recommender systems being public good and virtual identity being basic human right. And we want to trigger or boost research into how emerging technologies affect the psychological well-being of citizens. I think it's very important. Technologies are not assessed very enough by the companies, and this is not, we're not creating the future for humans, we're creating future for machines. At least I think that's the case. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to this. Please, if you have any questions, I'm here to answer. Anything that comes to your mind. Please, Mr.
Interesting area. I'm just wondering, you mentioned that people have the right to, you know, add anything in the large-scale platforms. You know, the person, in this case, Donald Trump, was exited from the social media. How it's kind of conflicting, you know, message. One side, yes, the people have the right, but at the same time, if the behavior is so different,
Yes.
you know, what can they do? Can we add ethical regulations and so on? Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, in this case, I will not be the final judge, but the tech company decided to do that, and many others followed. So the big platforms made this kind of decision to expel a person from a social media platform. And maybe this is the problem. The problem, who is to judge that? So I'm sure that this should not be up to tech companies, and that this right should be advertised. Of course, if person spreads hate and you know, does all these kind of things, the main thing that rules should not be like we're judging based on context and it's too wide. So in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, that a strict rule should be there in charge, and the societies should do that, or countries or governments, but no way tech companies should be able to decide on the matter of virtual identity, because, you know, this is a question to be discussed. It is a very complex question in this particular case. I will not focus on that, but basically this should not be up to tech companies. Okay, any other questions? Okay, is it half hour or? Okay, we have some time more, but I guess this is if enough, because I don't know, should I extend? Oh, no need.
Only if you wish.
No, okay, thank you very much for this presentation and for being present here. It was not announced properly because it came out late, but I'm glad that it happened. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry. Is this the case already in any of the country of the world, or this is just the proposal first time?
Yes, yes, this is a proposal. As I already indicated, there it was the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution. It already indicated that human beings should have the same rights that they have offline, they should have online. So this is somehow a progress, one step forward toward the goal, but it related to governments. You know, it condemned the government, but the real threat is not about governments, or it has some, you know, it is some percentage of the threat. The real threat is about the tech companies and why they have the power to decide that. Because, okay, we're using their platforms. That's for sure true. But what that's something like a virtual home of ours online. So we are present online, and if we are present online and they have so much power, it is not fair. This is a matter of society, in my view, at least. So the only United Nations resolution was there related to the right to internet access. But I think much more should be done. The first step is our pledge, and the future is, I hope, in some other like laws and things like that. This question needs to be raised, not only about virtual identity, but about these online recommendations, because the censorship can be seen, but this cannot be seen. The societies and groups can be nudged towards one direction in terms of politics, commerce, and anything else. This is the greatest power given to recommender systems, actually given to tech companies, because they can affect the biggest tech companies. The big tech can affect half of world's population. At the moment, these are the users of smartphones that are really affected by recommender systems. So I think recommender systems and this question of virtual identity is not exploited much as it should. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much for this. Have a great day and fun at the Data Science Conference.